Greetings from the Dragon Lab. Today we're going to have a look at the Prism Flower Method and how you can use it to get more dragon power during events. So how does it work? Inside of the event itself you usually have a cloud key, this one, and this cloud key is the Tarzanite nest which you find at the end of the map. So while it's a cool thing to have more dragons inside of the event, behind this cloud key usually are 6 dragon eggs which result in 2 more dragons. It doesn't really help you because it comes more or less at the end of the event. So what many of us do is use the Prism Flower method to get more of the dragons earlier and then harvest quicker from there. My tip for this video is to watch it through first, and there is math involved to some degree, but once you watch it through first you probably understand it. You can have a look at the numbers and they are nice to know, but realistically you only need to know a few things. So just get through it first and study the things later if you wish to. So what's the method in itself? In all of the events I've played so far, inside of the event shop you can find a prism flower for 10 gems. That's a level 4 prism flower, and this one you can harvest for dragon tree leaves, which you then can merge up to a vermilion tree. And the vermilion tree on a level 4 you can harvest for wood, which you can merge up to a tiny cabin for hedge gnomes, which then produces shrubs. And once you have your cabins, you can match up the bush chain, and the bush chain results in a wonder called Ruins of the Sky Palace, which you can then tap for additional eggs. And sometimes you get even a Tarzanite nest, which is the desired cloud key we wanted to have. Note the word can and maybe, because sometimes you get 0, and you also can have up to 3 nests. So this is usually why I go for 2 Ruins of the Sky Palace right away, because I want to have more of the dragon eggs, because if you have ever tapped such a nest inside your camp or in a level, you know you get a variety of eggs out of it. So having 2 is just on the safer side. So how do we go about it? Well, you start harvesting the prism flower, and this is to chain up the prism flower while you merge up bit by bit, and then your camp is going to look a little bit like this. You harvest from your prism flower. You can do it with both dragons or just with one, and you fill up your field, and then you merge your leaves up. I usually like to occupy my slower dragon with my purple life flower, which I usually have by this point, and let the fast dragon harvest the prism flower. Or you could buy 2 prism flowers if you want to spend the 20 gems. It's your decision. After that you have to decide if you want to have 1 or 2 of the vermilion trees. Note that you only can harvest with 1 dragon of this vermilion tree. So in this regard you need to have 50 dragon tree leaves, or you need to have 83 for the 2. And when you merge by 5s, and those 5s you merge them down very carefully until the end, until you have 1 or 2 of the dragon trees. Now when you do the last one, I always find it very satisfying if it merges together, but do be careful of the so-called, what I call them, jump mergers, because what can also happen is, an example from a level what I have here, when you merge up a lot of the wood, it looks great and it does merge up by 5 as much as possible, but in the end it's going to merge actually by 3, and you want to avoid that with higher ticket items, because then you have to, in this case, harvest more wood. But it's also a recommendation for the life orbs: do merge less of them, so the maximum they can merge is maybe the lower blue one, and then you can manually merge it by 5. You will have a better outcome, and don't get angry about the fact that suddenly you only have 1 heavenly life orb when you could have 2 in this regard. But back to our chain. Once you have the wood, you merge it up to the cabin. And you might think by now, well, that's great, but I'm probably going to need a lot of cabins. And yeah, you could look at the numbers for 1 cabin, because once you harvest a vermilion tree, you could merge them down 1 by 1, but you shouldn't. You should always merge by 5. When you harvest a vermilion tree, you also sometimes get a L2 or L3, which will save you a little bit of time. But when you have this, the magic number as a spoiler is 16. You are going to need 16 of the cabins, or in my case 26. reality 27, but that's the magic number you need, because once you go up this chain and merge up everything carefully again, you need to be also careful about the cabins. You will automatically have a spawn of 5 if there is enough space around it. This is probably going to be one of your biggest problems on some of the event maps, but you have to look at it and say, okay, can 5 really spawn? Or otherwise they will try to spawn and the shrub is lost. But you also need to tap your cabins 3 times to get the additional ones to get to 8. Also, just a note, if you have never done these kinds of cabins, the last spawn takes a lot of time extra. I don't know why. Now, once you have that and you have your 16 cabins or your 26, you have exactly 128 shrubs in the first case and the exactly the 208 for the second one, which is basically the reason I usually need an extra cabin. And then you merge it down again by 5s as much as possible, and be careful, especially with the L4 and the L5, to really get to the point where you have the merges as you want them. And if you are curious, you need 250 elderwoods or 408 elderwoods to get to the point of the required amount of the cabins. Now, when playing Merge Dragons, I have a few habits I stick to, like never tap a star before you merge it, but this one I'm still trying to learn, and that is, once you get your nest, the first thing you do is unlock your cloud key, because you will probably forget about it otherwise. I once had 5 nests and I tapped them all out and then I remembered my cloud key, so don't be one of those people. Once you get your nest, the first nest, just move it over, just unlock your cloud key, and you will be happy for it, because behind it usually are 2 more dragons. Also, when you uncover the Tarzanite eggs on your land, when the dead land becomes undead, usually there are 2 Tarzanite eggs distributed throughout the whole camp. Just put them close to the cloud key, because that will definitely help you remember that you had additional eggs. It's the best way to do it. And another one, once you have tapped everything out, merge all the eggs, even if it's a 3 merge at the end, because you can wait for the additional egg nest from the top, but the reason you're doing this whole thing is actually to get more dragons, so just merge them all up. Save the rest of the eggs, you might get an additional dragon out of it, but for now this is what you actually do, just unlock first and then go on from there. So that's the habit, and once you've done, you can sell the wonder. I think it's 750 in coin. You can also leave it out in camp, because for every 10 hour in camp it supposedly is going to be tappable again. I actually have never tried that, but you, depending on how much space you have, I usually always sell them. And what many of us do is also sell the slow dragon, the first one you have merged, the one who has been annoying you all this time. If you have enough dragons, so you can merge a lot of things, you can harvest a lot of things, just delete the slowest dragon if you have enough and go from there. I usually determine if it annoys me, and if it annoys me, I'm going to delete it. Now, there's an additional idea which I read about and I have never tried out, but just to leave you with the idea that there's more. If you merge up your Vermillion Tree higher up to a nice dragon tree, somebody on the fan wiki, and I'm going to leave the link in the description, has left a sample of all of the different harvests and figured out that in case of the nice dragon tree, you have a 1.8% chance of getting an egg, and that's a ruby fire egg. That's not the Tarzanite egg, it's a ruby fire egg, and also some coins and chests and live flowers. And if you merge it up even further, you have a higher chance for the egg. So if everything failed with your ruins in the Sky Palace, maybe harvest more of the leaves and try this method just as a pointer as what you can do else to keep it interesting. So I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please leave a like as a thank you, and you can see on the side a playlist of more tips I plan on putting in there. And again, greetings from the Dragon Lab, and I wish you happy harvesting in the event.